guys. And I'm in Corner Brook. I'm stopped at the Railway Museum. Now, when you see old hardware like this, you know you're dealing with an old railway. And our railway was built in 1898, and let's not kid ourselves, guys. It was a vanity project. Right? You think about the fact that Newfoundland is an island. Right? There's nowhere on this island where you could stand to be more than 92 kilometers from the ocean, and everything that we produced back in the day came out of the ocean. We had transportation, we had boats, we had an ability to ship goods and people and services, and even if you found a mining resource, a mining deposit, it didn't take much rail to get a line in from the ocean at just about anywhere. But we were a country, and we were a very proud country. We had the same status as Canada had, as Australia had, as New Zealand did. And let's not kid ourselves, guys, we were wealthy. Right? We were feeding the world. Our saltfish before the days of refrigeration. Our saltfish, there's a reason there are so many different hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recipes for bacalao. Right? Spin this around and do it this way. Right? We fed the world with our saltfish. We produced oil, our seal fishery. Right? For years and years and years, the entire Industrial Revolution was lubricated using oils that were rendered in Newfoundland. We lit the lamps of Europe before hydrocarbons, guys. I mean, that's what we used. We were an extraordinary country in terms of the wealth that we'd created. And in order to prove ourselves a country, and in those days that was about the size of it, to prove yourself to be a country, you needed to have a railway. America had a railway. Canada had a railway. Everybody had a railway, and Newfoundland had to have their own as well. It's a unique railway, as you can see from the tracks here. I think you can see over my shoulder there. It's a narrow gauge railway. Right? Very typical in colonial locations to use this narrow gauge. It's a very affordable way to run a rail. And look, let's not kid ourselves. Did it allow us to develop and evolve certain industries? Sure it did. Right? Certainly the paper mill in Grand Falls would never have existed without the railway. The one in Corner Brook, not so much. But we had developed different technologies by that time, and as a result, we could build our mill on tidewater. So the idea of having a railway when we had waterways to transport the logs and the like. But I think the one real disservice that we've done ourselves, right, is this myth. Because guys, we ran this thing from 1898 right up until 1987, and then we signed an agreement with Canada. It's called the Roads for Rail Agreement. And in 1987, we shut down our Newfoundland Railway, because it was basically, you talk about a Newfie joke. It's a sin, because it was basically the same day that we started talking about climate change. Well, at that time we were talking about global warming. But you get the gist, right? The idea was to move towards mass transit, to move towards, transportation systems that were a heck of a lot more efficient, mostly that ran on rail. The day they started talking about that, the day before they started talking about that, we took up the railway. Now, we took it up. We were always of the belief, and we had come to believe, right? We nicknamed this railway, and it wasn't us. It was the American people who nicknamed this railway the Newfie Bullet. And again, guys, with living on an island without comparables, without a basic understanding what it is that we're dealing with the rest of the world, we actually believe that this was a slow train. Now again, your geological evidence, look, if you were showing me that locomotive, that steam-powered locomotive, the coal-fired locomotive that I just showed you a minute ago, well, yeah, okay, if we were still running that in 1987, you might have some sort of a leg to stand on. But look, these are modern diesel-electric engines. What do you mean you have a slow, inefficient? Why were you still calling it the Newfie Bullet? Well, the reason is, and it's the reason look, the Newfie Bullet wasn't called the Newfie Bullet because we had inadequate equipment. It wasn't that our trains were so terribly slow. The Americans nicknamed the railway the Newfie Bullet, and guys, it was a term of endearment. It was on account of the fact that it was just so slow in the fact that it had no real set schedule. Right, in Newfoundland, it's the colonial environment. It was the people's railway. right? It was built for the country, and it had no schedule per se. It would stop along the road, it would stop along anywhere, pick people up. It would drop people off to go berry picking, drop them off to go hunting, drop them off to go trouting. Trouting is fishing in the freshwater ponds. It had no schedule, so the Americans nicknamed it the Newfie Bullet because it never arrived on time. It's unfortunate. We closed this in 1987, but can you imagine today? I mean, look, it's still a nice little tourist attraction. We're here on the mouth of the Humber River. If you ever have an opportunity, we'd definitely recommend that you stop by. But in the meantime, there is no railway in Newfoundland. Hope you're enjoying these. It's Andrew. Bye.